Good day, everyone, especially to you, Sir Master Anthony Gamali. Good day, sir. So now I'm going to report the chapter one, which is Filipino influences, traits, and characteristics. So when we say Filipino influence, traits, and characteristics, the Philippines is a meeting point for culture from all over Asia and the Pacific because it has been a crossroads between east and west. So, and the merging of culture reflects the country's culture and its people. It becomes from various ethno-linguistic groups that are native to the islands or migrants from various Asia-Pacific regions. So Filipino are the people who are naturally born to or recognized with the Philippine country. China, the United States, and Spain mainly influenced the modern Filipino identity. So, thought Filipinos are racially similar to Malays, but in terms of culture, they are more like the Spaniards. So, thus, it could be claimed that Filipino are the most hot-blooded and brave citizens in the tropical Asian's culture. Like other countries, the Philippines has its opposing values and labels. So it's believed by the Filipinos that the country have the best values in the world. So that it has experienced colonizations by several countries, but the core values it has gained from the Filipino ancestors remain contact and are still honored today, like the Bayanihan, or spirit of kinship and camaraderie implanted by Malay. So ancestors and close family ties inherited by the Chinese ascendants. So let's proceed the most real known traits and attitudes of the Filipino. So there are six positive traits. First is hospitality. So when you say hospitality, hospitality is a trait displayed by every Filipino characterized by heartwarming generosity and friendliness exhibit to foreigners and locals alike. So Filipinos are well known for being hospitable. So this is one of the most popular qualities of Filipino. So most foreigners who have gone to the Philippines fell in love with the warm hospitality. So they have experience while staying in the country. This is a kind of value system which has existed in the country thousands of years ago. So good thing is that the hospitality of Filipino is not only shown to the foreigners, but its fellow Filipino as well. So hospitality of Filipino is shown as the is when a person visits a friend's house, the host greets him or her with a very warm welcome. So the host will immediately let their visitor sit down and will prepare a meal or a snack plus drinks for the visitors. So the host will insist that the friend not leave the house with an empty stomach. So uh, a host will always make sure you had a great time visiting them. So people offer their guests room to visitors if they're going to spend the night. Meals offered to guests are very special. So a host always finds a way to prepare great tasting food that her visitor wants to eat. So second is respect. So this is often observed not just by younger people but also by people of all age. In the Philippines, respect for one's elders is a tradition. So the word po and opo, these words are spoken by the Filipino when talking to elders. So or in order to show respect to persons in authority. So these Filipino words mean yes when answering or talking to the elders. So pagmamano, another way of showing respect to the elders when greeting them. And this is done by putting their elders' hands on their foreheads. So Filipino also show respect at work by making a bow to their employees or employer. So the third is strong family ties and religions. Filipino value their families so much that they tend to keep families intact through the generation. So families go to church and pray together because their religion is important and creates a strong bond. So marketing God as the center of their lives. Filipino believe in only one God and majority of the populations are Catholics. So it is a value system of the Filipinos to pray before eating, going to bed, before the start of the meeting, conferences of program and gathering or etc. On weekends, most Filipino families make sure to have quality time together by watching television or eating a family meal, watch movies, or going to resorts. So let's proceed to the fourth um, positive traits, which is the generosity and helpfulness. Aside from being hospitable, Filipino are also well known for being generous. They share what they have to the Filipino around them, even when they only um, have little. So this could be felt during birthdays, wedding, or or party. So when visitors came to celebrate with tasting special foods are especially prepared for everyone. So it is shared by friends, families, or even strangers. So when you will be in trouble, Filipino cannot refuse to help you. So they are always willing to assist you or lend a hand. So next is strong work ethics. Another good thing most Filipino have is being hardworking people. So they are always willing to work almost the whole day to provide the needs of their families. So Filipino farmers thought earning so little but they work harder with not much compensation. So aside from their regular work, Filipinos always find creative ways to look for other resources of become um, a source of income, like creating a small business from their home where they sell foods and other items for the convenience of their neighbors. So last is loving and caring. So, because our generosity, hospitality, and religiosity, we Filipino are found to be the sweetest and most loving people in the world. So it is experienced by both foreigners and Filipino women that most Filipino men are so sweet and romantic when it comes to love. So they will send their beloved flowers, bring her to a very romantic place, text her sweet thoughts, and tell often how special she is to them. So, and also the Filipino women are also romantic and very caring, which often makes some foreigners want to marry them. So women intend to prepare dinner before their husband comes home. They love and value the relationship, always staying faithful to their husband. So they love deeply and sincerely. So now let's proceed to the negative traits of Filipino. So there are 15 negative traits of Filipino. First is fatalisms, or in Tagalog, bahala na, or come what may, attitude. So when Filipinos are facing difficulties and shortcomings, so they have this attitude of leaving it up to God to sort things out. So an attitude of what goes around comes around. Filipino have a tendency to surrender the future to luck. So they have that strong confidence that everything will work out in his interest without doing anything. Filipino often accept bad news of circumstances without trying to stop or change them. So this can sometimes be helpful in adversity, but it can also help keep us from finding ways out of situations. So also constantly expecting the worst can get pretty depressing. So next is manana habit. Manana habit or procrastination. True-blooded Filipino have the attitude of causing delays in accomplishing things or making transactions. So reserve until tomorrow or the next day to finish what they are doing or meeting their transactions. So however, there are some Filipinos nowadays who take their time in doing things or in making decisions promptly. There are some who are habitually late or not showing up at all. So there are few Filipinos who are punctual for social meetings. In fact, in fact, it is not expected of them to arrive exactly on time, especially at the party. So, the bahala na attitude is the outcome of the manana habit. When the tasks are left undone, this is usually shown and even expressed by people who do not care much of what lies ahead and just leave everything in fate. So third is crab mentality. So this is an attitude of some Filipinos where they are tend to push each other down to clear the way of their um, own gain. Filipino people with this kind of mentality or attitude try their best to rein each other. So each by making issues against the other for him to turn out bad to the public or to the company or organization so that people will gradually put a distance and lost their confidence and trust that eventually result to their replacement. So next is hypocrisy. So when we say hypocrisy, this is a trait of Filipino where criticism to others' failure to live with the moral standards of the society are inevitable. So in the Philippines, morality is highly valued. Most of us try to live up to the standards set by the traditional society. However, as no one is perfect, many of us are not actually able to sustain these standards. So, the fear of being an outcast has forced a lot of people to live a double standard life to hide our failure in following a norm. So, we tend to be condemning those who are caught red-handed. So, a perfect example could be the criticisms faced by those who become pregnant outside marriage. So, the sad fact behind this scenario is that some of these critics could have actually engaged in premarital sex, though only that no proof invisible. So, next is Ningas Kugon. So, most Filipino are very good at the start when doing something. Nevertheless, after a few hours or days, excitement to do or accomplish something is lost. We and become too lazy to finish what we have started. So next is tardiness, Filipino time. So this is what we call Filipino time. So only in the Philippines that we have we have the so-called Filipino time. So, but not exactly referring to the Philippine standard time. But then again, we use it to refer to the tardiness of the person that we are rating or who keeps on coming late to the set time schedule of events instead of being something to even something even being something to be proud of Filipino. Time brings a negative impressions to our people. So when the invitation says that the program will start at 7 p.m., so it is expected to begin at 9 p.m. So this is has not only caused conflicts in relationships, so it has discourages others, including foreigners, from getting involved and supposedly reproductive activities, as too much time can be wasted on waiting. So next is gossip or gossiping. So Filipinos are fond of talking about others' business. So it is what we called in Bisaya is chismis. So it is not true that no, it is not true that only women are into gossiping. Even men can also be nosy on other people's lives. So secrets are brought out, failures and flaws are emphasized, and relationships are destroyed. So worst is as gossip are passed around, they tend to be twisted until the final story becomes too far from the original, thus causing for more damage. So next is blaming. Filipinos can sometimes be too self-righteousness. When mistakes happen, we do not want to take the blame. So we lack humility to accept our failures, I mean. So and instead we point at others. This shows how responsible we are on our actions. So this attitude destroys teamwork and real, reliability becomes an issue. So next is selfishness, being insensitive of others. So most Filipinos are insensitive to the needs and situations of others. So this is could be an outcome of having too many problems that Filipinos are facing. And the tendency is to focus on their own needs first before others. So next is disobedience to simple rules and instruction. So some Filipinos, despite of the understanding of the purpose of laws and ordinances, have inability to observe and follow them. So consequently, crime victimizations and accident rate in the Philippines are constantly rising. Poverty is getting more rampant and lifestyle development is relaxed. So next is attention taker. So when we say attention taker, Filipinos are fun and people loving ways. So thus attracting attention is natural for them. Now, nevertheless, it is a different thing to be an ipal or kapalmoks. So simply being an attention grabber. So sometimes in our desperate need to be the center of attention, we do things that are already embarrassing, like putting in conversation as know it all, or by being scandalous. So this habit is also common to our politicians. Instead of prioritizing their duty to give the best service to the people, they rather prioritize their thick faces to grab attentions that will bring them more chance of winning in the next election. So, but thanks to our vigilant netizens, this kind of politicians earns more shame than fame. Next is being onion skin or too sensitive. So another habit or attitude that we need to change is our being too proud, which usually results to being oversensitive. So if we think highly of ourselves, then we have the tendency to put a wall around us and that a signboard on our forehead saying, so I must be respected. So therefore, then sometimes make a joke or not so positive comment about us, we feel like we are not um, we are not respected and we get offended. So if all people in the country do not know how to accept constructive criticism, then we can never expect unity. So next is living beyond the means or the social climate. One of the reasons why a lot of Filipino live in poverty is because of overspending. Since most people want to live an elite lifestyle, many resort to social climbing or living beyond their means. Sometimes some of us think that as long as we wear designer clothes and shoes, and we send our children to the most expensive schools, so it is all right to be swimming in credits and loans. So 14 is passivity or lack of leadership. So Filipinos lack of initiative for change is also one reason why our country does not progress. We keep on complaining against the government and other societal issues. However, we do not do anything about them. So one of our excuses is the lack of faith that our small action can bring change. However, the worst reason for this could be our lack of care for what is happening around us. So common Filipinos also lack courage and confidence. If you can notice it in classrooms, church or conference room, most of us don't like sit in the front seat. So next is the last is other negative traits. So some Filipino women give birth at an early age, so or with what we call teenage pregnancy. So some just don't mind their own business. So some have many bad habits like drinking, smoking, etc. So some poor teenagers engage in prostitution. So there are many broken families and a lot of bad words to choose from, which Filipinos just can't avoid saying those. Most Filipino tend to be with friends most of the time than to be with their parents. So next is Filipino character and personality. So there are three main traits underscoring Filipino values. So first is personalism. So when we say personalism, Filipino valued interpersonal relationship. So it is firmly believed that harmonious personal relationship is the key to successful endeavors. So amicable settlement of dispute is the primary means of restoring broken relationship, and face-to-face open forum is considered once conflict is recognized in an organization or the community. So let's proceed to familialism. So when we say familialism, Filipinos are family-oriented. So development programs and projects in the community are concentrated on the family. So decisions on matter is centered on the welfare and best interest of the family rather than on the betterment and interest of some individuals. So the mistakes committed by a family member affects the credibility and of the immediate members of the family and related and relatives. So when and number three is particularism. So when we say particularism, displayed behavior by the individuals, may it be good or bad, or is blame against that against the family. So it is based on the principle that home is the cradle of human personality and character. So that is the product of goodness is always good, and those who are molded in wickedness so will always show of badness. So individuals strive to promote their own and their family's interest over community interests. So on the other hand, knowing how to entertain people or marunong umisikaso ng kapwa is important. So conformity to proper codes of conduct reaps the rewards of cooperation and resistance. So non-conformity is punished by withdrawal of support. So Filipino values orientation. Values orientation is the approach that may influence work or social relationships by persons relating to objects, events, and ideas. So main obligations underlying Filipino value orientation. The relational or face-to-face interactions and their resulting responsibilities are called interpersonal obligations. So this is in relations to the value in Filipino culture orientation. The personalism or pakiramay, pakisama, bayanihan, and galang are the nature of interpersonal relationships that are inherent to the pure-blooded Filipino people. So, number one is pakiramay. It is the Filipino value of going out of the way to help without being asked, or i.e. Unsolicited help. So, the word pakikisama, smooth interpersonal or smooth interpersonal relations, regardless whether someone's views are agreeable or not. Filipinos are capable of sitting along with it. So camaraderie, trust, confidence, and loyalty are enhanced and developed by Filipino values. So next is bayanihan. As mentioned in the preceding topics, Filipinos are able to render services and generous enough to extend help without compensation. So someday somebody can request help in time of need from those to whom it is extended. So next is galang or respect in English. So when we say galang or respect, Filipino are basically oriented to revere to the opinions of elders, peers, or those in authority during important discussions, during social encounters, verbal clash, or any sign of extreme familiarity in public meetings is a sign of disrespect to elders or persons in authority. So that's all. Thank you, and once again, good day, everyone.